Hey, good afternoon, everyone, and happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday wisdom, because that is what's going to be brought to you on today. I am so very happy and humbled to be joined here by someone that I have known for several years, probably maybe a decade now, actually. Uh, Someone I have looked up to, have collaborated with, have bounced things off of, has stayed in my corner and boxed it out with me sometimes, even in the corner. But we have always, remained respectful and just not just professional, but I do consider this person a friend. He knows my real phone number and can text me about something crazy that I've said online because he does that sometimes. But I'm joined by Torin Ellis, Baltimore's finest. You know what they say, internationally known and known to rock microphones, a father, a husband, just an amazing person, podcast host, speaker, and owner of the Torin Ellis Brand, which is a DEI consulting firm. Torin, thank you so much for being here today. I did think you were going to wear a hat because I know you like the brims. So I thought you were going to have a hat on today.
I was a little delayed. And so in terms of being delayed, I didn't get a chance to get over to the hat closet and grab one. But let me just do a minor flex on you. When you say Baltimore's finest, let me take you back to September of 2015.
Oh, okay.
Can I do that? September of 2015, I'm walking off stage, leaving the hotel in Dallas, and I'm already upset with the conference organizers because they've placed me and my panelists in a very, very small room tucked in the far, far, far back of the venue. Cool. So I'm walking through the hotel. Walking through the airport, and I'm getting all of these text messages. Congratulations and wow and all. Didn't know what was going on. Yeah. And a dear sister called me and she said, "Are you serious?" She said, "There's an article right now floating through the city that you are one of the 10 people that could run for mayor."
What?
So I was on the list. One of the people on the list right now is Wes Moore.
Mm-hmm.
And Wes Moore is running for governor. So I just want you to know that I enjoy keeping good company like you.
Oh, appreciate you. So we're here in Opportunity October, and today's theme is opportunities for ourselves. A lot of folks want to pretend to be what I call fake humble, don't want to toot their own horn. But the reason that I thought Torin was the right person to speak on this is because, like I said, in all the years that I've known him, he has made has made opportunities, created them out of dust, out of nothing. I can go back to how we originally got connected, and it was through a dearly departed friend, Christopher Fields. And Chris said, "Oh, you gotta meet Torin." And he told Torin, "Oh, you gotta meet Kirsten." So I looked this person up, and they are the only Black recruiter on what was a reality show, called Top Recruiter. And wasn't it filmed in the UK?
No, one version was in the UK. Version. We started in Miami.
Yep. Okay. And then it went to the UK.
Yeah, we went to UK and Paris. Absolutely.
Nice. Okay. So one Top Recruiter, and like he just said, international, Paris and London. And, even when you look at the stats of recruiters today, Black people, men, women, and non-binary only make up less than 10% of total recruiters. So for someone who is in the 10%, to have garnered this title of you're the best, that was outstanding to me. And again, like I said, that was years ago. So, the percentage was probably a little bit lower. How is it that you found your way, like I said, as a Black person, as a Black man in Baltimore, into what is recruiting, which a lot of people still don't even know what that is. But
Yeah. So again, just thank you for allowing me to be in your space, in your sandbox, and providing me with a bit of trust with your audience. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Got into recruiting in 93, 94. So the short corporate story is when I joined MCI Communications in 1993, I started on the phone. You know, I was a telemarketer for MCI Communications. And when the person interviewed me, her name was Terry Martinez. We are still in touch today, almost 30 something years later. And so I told Terry, I said, I'm going to be promoted in a year. She said, Torin, no one's ever been promoted that fast. I said, I'm going to be promoted in a year. Got promoted in a year. When I got promoted to management supervisor, they gave me the poorest performing team in the building. The
Wow.
reason why I got the poorest performing team in the building is because there was a gentleman who did a better essay, if you will, a better business plan. He wrote out a better strategy for a team that was open. And the team that was open was a high performing team.
Okay.
So we are interviewing. They give him the high performing team, give me one of the worst teams in the building. What I told them in HR, look, you can focus on everybody else. I'll go hire my own people. I didn't know anything about hiring. I just said, I'm going to figure it out. We took that team, Kirsten, from being the worst in the building to being in the top 70 in the entire country.
Wow.
So that's what told me that I knew how to recruit. I knew how to build high performing teams. I did it inside of MCI. I said, I can do this thing on my own. Walked away from MCI in 1998, started a recruiting company. Took me 6 months to get my first contract. First contract was Telligent, a woman by the name of Gail. I don't remember her last name. She gave me the contract. First placement was $20,000. 6 months, no money, 20 G's. I said, I'm doing the right thing. Built a 7-figure business in less than.
Oh, you're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
Okay. For me, it's always been around storytelling and people.
Okay.
Storytelling and people. Can you tell compelling stories to the individuals that you are reaching out to? Don't be mundane and try to tell the same exact story that other people are telling around jobs and compensation. Can you tell a compelling story? And for me, a compelling story centers the individual. How do they envision themselves growing in whatever this opportunity is that Torin has told them about? So that was the essence of my success. That was the formula for me. Focus on telling better stories and centering the people that I'm reaching out to, no matter whom they are.
I love that. I love that. And then since you did do the history, you went back and, you've elevated. Like I said, you won top recruiter. You have been recruiting for some years. You won top recruiter. And then you pivoted out of recruiting. And now you do DEI full time. How was that transition? Was that an easy thing? Like when someone sees you as something and then you're telling them, no, I do something else now. Like, how was that for you?
Painful. In 2011, there was a white woman that I spoke to. True story. I won't get into the entire story, but I had done a number of successful placements for Thompson Hospitality down near you in Virginia.
Okay.
Black-owned organization, $400 million company. I had done a number of successful placements of underrepresented talent. Thompson Hospitality said, Torin, you've done such a great job. How about you show us how we can build a $15 million recruiting practice internally so we can go out and support Time Warner, AOL, CNN, Johnson & Johnson, Corning, some of the other companies that they were providing food services to.
Nice.
I reached out to a white woman in Delaware working on a search. I told the woman that I wanted an underrepresented person, a referral. So think about who you know in the DC, Maryland area, and we'll go from there. The lady gets fired. True story. She got fired 30 minutes after she talked to me. Now I'm networking with her because she knows how to do the role that I have in Bowie, Maryland. She called Thompson Hospitality and she said, your recruiter is looking for someone who's black or brown. And because I'm a white woman, I can't apply. I'm going to go and do a discrimination or some racial suit against you. Thompson severed their relationship with me. That's the fastest version of the story. What I know is that I lost an opportunity to build a $15 million practice. Kirsten, I will tell you, I sat at my desk at the time for 30 minutes. I could not move. I literally could not move. I wasn't angry. I couldn't cry. I just knew that I could not move because this lady in 5 minutes took away a multi-seven-figure deal from me. I made a commitment in June of 2011. Before the first diversity report came out. I'm not saying I'm the first in diversity. I'm talking the new age diversity. I said, no matter what I do for the remainder of my time in human support, human capital, people, I am only doing diversity and inclusion. And I could give a shit what anybody else says. There is nothing anybody is going to do to get me off focus of providing opportunity and access for people who have often been overlooked. And that is what I do.
I love that. And I love that you said opportunity and access, because I think that the access part is what gets lost on a lot of people. You know, we use these terms because, you know, HR community, you know, that the human capital community, we love some terms. We love some buzzwords. And we use words like, you know, underrepresented. And what we really mean is historically excluded. You know, they haven't had access. Yes, the opportunities are there. No one is denying that. It's the access to them that is where the problem comes in. And I'm floored by that. And it's, you know, it's putting some things in my mind, because I know that I've had to, you know, I've been the only person in the room sometimes. And when I say only person, like the only Black person, I've been the person who has, you know, had to stand up to, you know, and have this courageous conversation about things. And, you know, I'm just going to be real about it. A lot of times it didn't turn out the way that I wanted it to. You know, they were like, whatever, and you'll be fine. Or they figured out ways to, you know, to continue to exclude people and to continue to, and then to start to exclude me. And
let me just say one thing, KG. Let me say one thing real quick. And to that point, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but I didn't allow only the emotion to propel me into doing D&I. Right. I committed myself, you know, so once I moved away from that desk, and over the next 30, 45 days, I can't remember when, but I submitted myself. And when I say study to show thyself approved, I submitted myself to looking at D&I over the last 100 years.
Nice.
So let me just say this to you. There is not too many people that hit a stage, that get into a consulting engagement, that can coach an executive. There are not advised startup companies. And this minor flex, but I'm just telling the truth. There's not too many people in the D&I space that move the way that I move, because they are emotionally attached to D&I. They may not have the business acumen. They may not have the history. I try to bring all of that, the emotional attachment, the social imperative, the community social justice, the business. I bring all of that to the equation. So when I'm sitting in front of somebody, there is little that they can say to wiggle out of doing what I'm telling them to do, because I'm able to hit them from so many different angles that you have to submit and say to yourself, yep, he telling the truth. He telling the truth. He telling the truth. So it's not just an emotional thing for me. Yeah. It really is about marrying that business methodology with that social imperative.
And as we see on here, Sarah saying, boom, powerful story. Margaret's tuned in. Hey, boo, that's my baby. The power of his convictions is empowering. That's probably Lex, who always shows up as LinkedIn user. Awesome story. And then again, Margaret saying it requires the emotional impact. Now that's where that's a blind spot for me, the emotions. Y'all know this. People that know me know that I am like, my first thing is to, you know, black out, as they say. Is that that the right word?
That's the term.
I'm a blackout.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to think about it later. I've obviously grown up a lot, and I black out, but not openly. And then I only give the factual stuff most of the time now. But how do you do that? Like, how is it possible when you look like you do? And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with the way you look. I'm saying like a black man coming into, and most of the time, predominantly non-black spaces, and being able to diminish, and correct me if I'm wrong, but being able to push down your emotions and then elevate everything else.
Yeah, I mean, again, I say it often, the ROI of D&I is greater humanity. And so the frequency for me, if you look at my Twitter profile, if you look at anything that I say, I will say that the two most powerful words are love and process. And so my frequency is love. My frequency is beauty. My frequency is aspiration. So even when I'm having that challenging conversation with white men, or that uncomfortable conversation with white women, or the tears that black women share with me because they are not fragile, they're fatigued, or the disappointment that other marginalized, excluded groups experience, I am always emanating a frequency of love. And so some folks may say, well, I got friends right now who are like, well, Torin, why do you advocate and fight so hard for a seat at their table? Just build your own table. And I say, well, why don't you
do have a table?
Yeah. I say, well, why don't you advocate to build your own table and fight for access? Because we all need to have options.
Yeah.
I love my life because I have options. I want to give people options. So it does and serves me of no good. Listen, it may work for some folks to walk into the room, be a bull in a china shop, and be very punitive and do some of the other things that some of these disruptive folks in the D&I space have done. Like, I think about, and I listen to people who are saying to folks that they are walking into rooms and they are telling white people in the room to write apology letters to black people and others. That's some bullshit.
Thank you, because I just had to turn away.
So let me just say, I'm just telling you that. But if that's the way you want to operate and build your practice, knock yourself out. Me, I'm walking into the room and I'm making sure that they understand when I pick up a Crayola box, there is a bunch of colors in there. I don't care if it's 12 colors, 50 colors, 100 colors, a super box, whatever. White is in that box. White is also a part of humanity. So right. I'm never walking around moving as if I can do this work, excluding people that are in power, folks that have access and control of how things are deployed in an organization, how people are held accountable in an organization, how people have say over resources, plus or minus, what strategy is put in place. What do I look like trying to be a consultant?
Yeah.
And walking in and excluding individuals. Let me tell you, the only people that I exclude, KG, the only folks that I have zero patience for are those that are racist and toxic.
Okay.
Period. I have no cut card for them. And once I know and can identify that you are racist, you're toxic, and I'm not saying that misogyny is not important or patriarchy is not important. I'm saying I can kind of work through those misogynistic ways. I can kind of work through the person who's male chivalry, doesn't want to open up a door for a woman. I can kind of work through those things. It's the racist folks and the toxic people that are really disruptive. Look, get your stuff together, period, or I'm going to find a way to isolate and inoculate you so that you have little impact inside of the organization. And you know why I can do that? Because in 2016, 2017, when I started doing consulting, I didn't have any access to the CEO. Oh. So I've worked with a lot of large organizations, no access to the CEO. So the work that I would do would kind of get buried in HR departments, or it'd get buried with maybe a chief VP of talent or whatever. After 2018, I've not done an engagement where I don't have access to the CEO. So I will tell you, I turned down money because if I don't have access to the top of the organization, I ain't doing it.
Let's put a pin in that because I want to come back to that. But people were very much resonating with what you were saying. Like the comments were going crazy about the ROI or greater humanity. Our friend Kate Bischoff coming in on that's bullshit. People, clapping, glad you said it, happy, talking about how you keeping it real. Options equal abundance. But I have up on the screen a comment by Sarah, and I want to touch on this. We cannot entrepreneur our way out of systemic oppression. Some of us have to sit at the table and chip away at it. So you talked about that, people asking you, well, why don't you have, why don't you just build your own table? A lot of these sayings that we're now using, some of them were affirming at a time, or some of them can be affirming at a time, but a lot of it is what is called now toxic positivity, and it's a way of like talking yourself out of doing what you believe is right. So I want to stay here, and then we're going to go back to what you said about the access that you had to demand to be given outside of HR.
Yeah, I wrote a book in 2016, Kirsten, titled "Rip the Resume," and
yes.
Inside of that book, I use an acronym, WAYLAY.
Okay.
And WAYLAY stood for wage earner. This is to Sarah's point. Wage earner, act like an entrepreneur. The problem for far too many individuals is that even as an individual or individual contributor, an employee, mediocrity is their measurement. I'll just do enough. I got a dear friend right now, best friend, lives in Philly. He refuses to put corporate email on his cellular device. Like, won't do it. The company's not paying for his cell phone. So he's like, I'm not putting work email on my mobile device. I said, okay, that's cool. That's a choice. But you are thinking like you are operating and thinking in a mediocre way. Just because you have the ability to respond to email and provide your clients or your colleagues with value, with solution, with contribution at a time that's after 5 p.m., maybe after 7 p.m., you see that as being an infringement. I see that as an opportunity for me to be of value. And so when you talk about creating opportunity, I always tell people you want to be able to create and deliver value. And to Sarah's point, everybody that creates value is not going to be an entrepreneur, but you can think like an entrepreneur inside of an organization. I will close it by simply saying, I choose and try my best, Kirsten, to not take information to authority. I try to take authority to the information. So when I speak to a person, I'll frame it, but then I'm working. They know I'm working to find a solution. I'm not just dropping on them some information. I am letting you know here may be an issue. I already have a couple of options, or I don't have options, but I'm only making you aware of the issue. Trust me, I'm working on the solution. Give me a day, give me a week, give me whatever. But that's how I think and operate. I'm never thinking like mediocrity is acceptable.
I love that. So I said I was going to go back, and I have Margaret's comment up on the screen because it does echo what you said. So she's saying you cannot build DEI from the HR desk. It starts in the C-suite. Now I'm going to, put on my Kirsten HR TA hat. And one thing I will say has been my experience is that the more I think about this, and I'm glad you said it because I hadn't really contextualized it, I fight against a lot of the bad stereotypes that people say, especially as it relates to TA, especially as it relates to HR. But, we have been gatekeepers, and not in a good way, in a bad way. Because my experience has been now on outside of corporate America and also working as a consultant, that the CEO, the CFO, the COO, they are open to hearing anything that makes a company money. They are in business. And we all know, because we use this tagline in HR, that DEI is good business. DEI improves your business. So why do you think that HR has, or have they positioned themselves as this, are we the ones that are slowing the progress of DEI?
The question, I want to make sure I'm answering the right one. Are you asking, is HR or are people teams like recruiting, sourcing?
So both. I'm asking two questions. Are we the gatekeepers? And if we are we impeding that progress?
I'm sure that there's probably a bit of yes in there. I don't want to say, with totality. What I will say to you is that I firmly believe that D&I is something that should be marshaled from the highest level of the organization, but that everybody plays a role in how it is, embedded inside of the company. So one thing that I say, there's two things that I want to leave you with. One, I tell all of my clients, if you really want to make a difference in D&I, then you ask every single person in the company, what did you do to support our D&I efforts? Now, you can't ask that of everyone in the company, 500 people, 5,000 people, 50,000 people. You can't ask that one question of them if there has not been a declarative statement from the CEO. So as long as the CEO of the organization has made a declarative statement that D&I is important, and then that CEO says, I'm going to reallocate resources, and then that CEO says, I'm going to hold my senior leadership accountable, then we can go down and ask all of the employees, what did you do to support my statement? So that's the first thing you can do. And the one thing that I'm telling you all, free game, that doesn't cost you anything. It looks like this, Kirsten. I made a statement. What did you do to support our D&I efforts for 2022? Kirsten's going to say, I didn't do anything. Or Kirsten's going to say, I made an introduction or whatever. But if Kirsten says, I didn't do anything, cool. You're not getting in trouble. You're not being penalized. You're not going to lose any money. You're not moving out, being taken out of contention for a promotion. Kirsten just didn't do anything. But here's the deal. If I'm a great leader, I'm going to reinforce how important D&I is in our organization. And if Kirsten is listening to me, then she knows there's no way that I'm going to answer that question in 2023 with that I didn't do anything. Because at some point, I'm going to hold Kirsten responsible, and I'm going to find a way to usher her to a new destination because she's not supporting what our CEO has said is important. So that's the first thing that I want to say. As it relates to your other question around the gatekeeper, I'd like to look at recruiting as the vanguard of the organization.
Yes.
We are some extremely important people. We are responsible for sourcing, identifying, being first line of contact for the people that we are bringing into our organization. If we don't have a commitment to D&I, then yes, we are absolutely hurting the way that it is embedded past the onboarding process. So I firmly believe that when you go into an organization, while you need to look at all of the value points, corporate social responsibility, learning and development, employer and philanthropic efforts, all of the value points in the organization, you must absolutely look at the value point of recruiting and sourcing or people operations, because it has to be something that is instituted and employed at the very beginning of the process.
So there's a question here. I think it is from Lex. But if I'm wrong, I apologize, LinkedIn user. What about corporate mission sustainability? Do corporate leaders really think companies can be successful excluding groups of talent?
Yeah, they do.
Dang.
Yeah, they do.
You just made it plain.
Yeah, they do. I mean, there's a number of organizations right now that don't have, comprehensive D&I strategy.
Yeah.
There's a number of organizations right now where they do not have one person on staff with a declared disability. There are a number of organizations that will tell you D&I is not important, period. So we are in effect excluding audiences, communities of people. So the answer to the question is yes, no matter how many white papers are positioned, no matter how much academic research is out there, no matter what 100 years, I said I did 100 years of study. One of the first companies that did D&I was the Ford Motor Company back in 1905. So no matter how much history is there around D&I, to the person posing the question, yes, there are people right now who absolutely feel like D&I is a waste of time. It is not important. It's not something that should be supported. It's not something that needs to have life and breath in our organization. Yes, there are people who absolutely believe that.
Well, like you said just a few minutes ago, we need to elevate those people out of the organizations, or usher ourselves out of those organizations.
That's right. That's right.
Since we are talking about making opportunities for ourselves, ushering ourselves out of these organizations and going to find some place where we are safer. So again, options equal abundance. And I do want to end the business part of our conversation on this high note. Options equal abundance.
That's right.
So more free game I'm going to ask you for, because this whole thing has been a masterclass. But I do want to ask you to give, one more piece of free game to any job seeker, any professional, any person connected to employment in any type of way. What is one way anybody can add an option and or create an opportunity for themselves?
Yep. Okay. So we're approaching the holiday season.
Oh.
And I know a number of people right now are going to reconsider, how do they start the new year? Do I stay with my present employer? Is this the time for me to find a new opportunity? Whatever the case may be. So the first thing that I want to do, and this is really simple, we won't even talk about it, but the first thing that I want you to do is remember, when you are on a job search, you should be considering a job search knowledge, opportunity, financial gain, not the other way around. So many of us focus on the money aspect, and we get removed from the value that we have in terms of knowledge, in terms of positioning ourselves for opportunity, and ultimately making more money. I will tell you, there is no way, if I was a candidate right now in a work environment and I was moving to another role, there's no way that I would move for anything less than $15,000. What I try to do is move in a way that allows me to net $20K over the next 12 months, if you will, if I'm in a candidate W-2. But that's not the focus. The focus for me is, am I learning something in this next move that my current employer is not going to be able to provide me? Am I positioned in 18 to 24 months? Can I position myself for a promotion in this new opportunity? And of course, am I going to make that $15,000 or $20,000 more if I say yes? Okay. So here's what I say to anybody who's looking. I've said it over the last 20 years, and no one's been able to tell me it's a poor formula. So I'm just going to keep saying it. Creative contribution. You have to be able to talk about, what did you do in your present organization? What was your creative contribution? Not a long list of things, responsibilities, items. Yeah. What did you contribute in the organization? Substantively made a difference. Efficiency, effectiveness, new collaborations. How did you make an impact in the organization? So number one, creative contribution. Number two, market recon. I can tell you, Kirsten, there are so many people that I watch on LinkedIn, on other social platforms. I listen to people when I lurk and get into their webinars and whatnot. They can't tell you what the market is doing. And when I say market, What are your competitors doing in your region, in your territory, in your sandbox? Like, are they bringing new solutions to the equation? Are they acquiring new companies? Are they trying to break ground in new geographies and markets?
Yeah.
What, from a market recon standpoint, how do you collect and amass that information so that you have a totally different swag about how you have your conversation? And
Mm-hmm.
then the third and final thing that I think is extremely important as we consider new opportunity through the holiday season and beyond is conviction. Kirsten, let me just say this to you. There ain't a microphone on the planet safe from my conviction.
I love it.
Not one on the planet. If I show up in a room, I'm showing up knowing that I'm supposed to be there and that what I'm about to say is of value, is going to be inspiring. It's going to have impact on some folks. It's going to develop some people, challenge some folks. So my conviction is through the roof, period. You as a candidate, as an employee, as that person, 1 foot in the hustle, 1 foot in the company, you have to have conviction. Listen, I'm not saying be stupid. I'm not saying not being willing to make a concession. I've been in places where I've been convicted. Like, I really believe in what it is that I'm suggesting, but for whatever reason, the parameters, the scenario, the circumstances really won't allow us to proceed in that way. So I fall back a little bit. Okay,
Okay.
cool. We table it. Or you know what? Let's throw it out altogether. That doesn't mean that I'm losing anything. So I just want us to really have a formula for how we show up on paper and in person. Creative contribution, market recon, and conviction.
Whew, I love that, and I'm gonna put a pin in it there before we get to the second half of the conversation. What I like to call the even more fun part. Uh, but I will start off with this. I appreciate you leaving us with these things. And one thing that I have mentioned a few times on other people's podcasts and even on my own podcast and this live show. I always talk about career advice that we were given that did not resonate with us at the time. We'll call it. It's probably a better way to frame it. And I remember you telling me, and I even mentioned this to you, because you asked me questions. You asked me one as soon as you got on the call today, as soon as we were backstage, you asked me a phenomenal question, and I've been thinking about that. But you once asked me, like, when I had gotten laid off, you asked me, what do you want to do? And, or what do I want to be known for? What was my creative contribution going to be? And it was, and I told you that I wanted to be the female, and I won't say the person's name, but they were in our circles the voice of recruiting. Like, they were synonymous with recruiting. And if you didn't follow everything this person said, if you didn't know this person's tool, if you weren't a tool in this person's box, if you didn't use the tools in this person's box, then you weren't shit in recruiting. Because what do you mean you don't know who this person is? And I'm not going to say their name because it turns out that they're actually a Trump supporter. Jesus, my God. But you were not impressed with me saying that. And you told me you already are. And I was like, what? Because I hadn't considered what you said, my creative contributions. And I was not able to stand on, my convictions and what I believed in terms of my ability to do certain things. So I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for the way that you poured into me and helped me to create opportunities for myself, believing that I was the female, this person. And now I'm just trap recruiter because that's something of itself. That's its own thing.
That's
so
right.
Thank you for that. Appreciate you.
P minus I equals R. Potential minus interference equals results. And I knew that if we could move some of that interference out of your mind that you could get to some of the results that you were seeking.
Potential.
Yeah. Your potential minus interference equals result. P minus I equals R.
Ooh. Adding that to my toolbox too. Thank you. All right, too many same hands, Mr. L. Okay. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
It says I can attest to many a slain mic at the hands of Mr. Ellis. I'm not sure who this is. Who's
Sabrina Epps?
Oh, okay.
Sabrina. I owe you a call. Sabrina. I know I do. I got you.
Okay. All right. So that's not Lex. That's been showing up as LinkedIn user. All right. So fun stuff. So I began this segment talking about some advice, some great, career advice that I, didn't take at the time. So I like to ask all of my guests this: what is the best or a piece of career advice that you were reluctant to accept, or you accepted later at a time?
Timing. When I was in corporate America, for those few short years, I learned at some point that I was being passed over for promotion because I had bad timing. Let me give you an example. I worked for MCI, as I said in the beginning. And back in the 90s, AT&T, MCI, Sprint, 3 largest telecommunications providers. And AT&T was at the top of the hill. So AT&T might be, let's say, 31 cents a minute. MCI, we were number 2. We'd be at 30 cents a minute. Sprint, 28, 29 cents a minute. I would sit in meetings and I said, why are we at 30 when we can be at a different number? And I know we can be at a different number because we are selling our service to, let's say, KG Communications. KG Communications is buying the same service from MCI for, let's say, 15 cents a minute. So KG now gets to get on the phone and she can sell it for 17 cents. Here's my point. I kept saying to them, you all want us to compete with AT&T, but you're undercutting us by selling it to KG Communications. So KG is whooping us. AT&T continues to whoop us because they have name recognition, and we're squeezed in the middle. And what my leaders would say is, you got poor timing. Yeah, it might make sense, but you don't need to put us on blast in the meeting. You don't need to show out when the executives come down to Baltimore. You have poor timing. So can you operate with a different timing and you might receive a promotion? It was advice that I did not take until after I left corporate America. And so once I turned 30 and recognized, looking back, as the Most High says, your past will become clearer to you when you get to where God wants you to be. I got to where God wanted me to be as an entrepreneur. All of that was for me to be an entrepreneur, but I had to look back and say, wait a minute, I'm not going to be able to sit in some of these client meetings and have poor timing. I'm going to need to adjust a little bit. So the one piece of advice for me is timing.
True. Love that. Next question. So I'm gonna switch it up for you. I'm going to ask it multi-layered, or ask you to give me multiple answers. So before you rock the mic, what's that song that you got to play?
Love Somebody by Raheem DeVaughn.
Oh, wow.
What did I say? My 2 most powerful words are love and process. Yeah. So you may see me in the back of the corner rocking the Beyonce and Jay-Z going ape shit, or you might know that a little bit of Usher is in my ear. Let me see. Like I have a variety of music, but trust me when I tell you, before my hand or my foot hits that stage, I'm listening to Raheem DeVaughn because he's singing about love, and I want to make sure that my frequency emulates that when I grab that microphone. So I'm always listening to When You Love Somebody by Raheem DeVaughn.
Okay. That's a beautiful song. And what about when you're getting psyched up to go after that next opportunity?
Same thing.
Oh, love When You Love Somebody?
I don't change, Kirsten, because again, I know I know when I come through, I'm strong. So
Mm.
I know that when I'm in client calls, discovery calls, when organizations are considering whether or not they want to work with me, um, do we want to fly him across the water, the pond, as they say, whatever. I know that sometimes I'm just not the right person for them, but I want to always make sure as best as I can that I am like settled, if you will, that I just know how I'm presenting. So even if I'm charged up and I'm real animated and amplified, my frequency, my core is saying, just find the right words.
Mm.
Connect with that person that's in this call on the Zoom. Just find a way to connect with them. Show them that they are seen, you hear them, you feel them. So no matter what, if I am doing something major and music is involved, and music is my therapy. So if music is involved, it is absolutely a love song. Now, my favorite all-time love song is Will Downing and Rochelle Farrell.
I can hear it.
You can.
Yes.
You can hear it. Absolutely.
I can hear it.
That's right.
Oh, you dropping jewels today, sir.
Yeah, nothing has ever felt like this before. Favorite all-time song.
That's a beautiful song. Is that like your wedding song? Or y'all were already married? Y'all were already married.
Man, I'm 25 years into this game.
Yeah. Y'all were already married when that came out. Was that your anniversary song? No.
Nope.
It's just your song.
Just mine. Just
your song. Okay. All right. I'll give you that. One more freebie, because I like to ask the Southern. Sarah's a mess. I like to ask the Southern gentleman this. I've kept taking a poll. Does sugar go in grits?
Hell no. Come on. You know good and well. And sweet potato pie is better than pumpkin pie. And I don't care what y'all say. Let me tell you, it's funny because before COVID set in, I do work with Facebook. And but my Facebook connections are in London. And so we were doing some work right when COVID set in. Yeah. And we got to talking about sweet potato pie versus pumpkin pie. Okay. And all of my folks in London had never had sweet potato pie except for one young lady. One young lady grew up in Georgia, now lives in London, and she knows what sweet potato pie tastes like. Okay. We were on a mission to find a bakery in London that could develop or bake a sweet potato pie. So sugar does not go in grits. Okay. Sweet potato pie is better than pumpkin pie.
Okay.
And Kate, since I know you're out there over in Minnesota, I'd love for you to put it in the chat, Kate. Which one do you like? Sweet potato pie or pumpkin pie? Make sure you put it in the chat. I wish we could bring Kate up.
So true story. We can bring her out if she wants to.
Okay.
So I've never had pumpkin pie. But I will say this. I make pumpkin cheesecake for Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Okay.
And the first time I made it, my father thought it was sweet potato pie. So really? Pumpkin cheesecake does taste like sweet potato pie.
I ain't mad about it. Can you listen, if you make some this holiday season,
I sure will.
Find me a way to get one of them pies so I can taste.
You're not that far. Listen.
That's all I'm saying. I want to taste it.
You know, I'm a person that, I like to give. My hand is always open to give because that means you're open to receive.
Let's do it.
Like I even, I make my black eyed peas and my greens for New Year's. And I have some friends over at my favorite watering hole. Shout out to the folks at Ruth's Chris in Fairfax. And I bring them the Tupperware with some collard greens and some black eyed peas so they can have it to take. Thank you, Sarah. Yes, KG's pumpkin cheesecake is legendary. All right, hold on. Wendy is here. Wendy has never had sweet potato pie, but she prefers sweet potato savory with bacon.
Look at Wendy. Thank you, Wendy.
Okay.
And thanks for being here, Wendy.
No, Wendy, I've never had pumpkin pie. We don't have that. I don't know anybody that makes that. All right. No, I don't think maybe Kate had to step away because I don't see her.
That's cool.
Margaret's coming to Baltimore to get some pumpkin cheesecake.
Look at that right there. Yes, indeed.
When she comes back because she is coming back. I'll bring you all. I'll make one, and y'all can have half each. Each have half.
Awesome.
Somebody said we need to have a holiday dessert show. I'm with it.
There you go. Trap Intruder and her holiday episode. That's in the making.
Okay, I'm gonna just say this, and I know this show isn't about me, it's about you. But I'm gonna say this. Y'all can't mess with me on the snacks. Like, y'all don't know. What was that movie? It was next Friday, and Baby T was like the connoisseur of snacks. Like, yes. I am the real life Baby T. I know the snacks for the new millennium. Like, there please don't mess with me on the snacks. I got them all down.
Do a holiday show on snacks and dessert.
All right, I'm gonna get it down. All right. So I want to give you an opportunity before we head out, because I know that you are a busy person and you have to get back to work. If you could tell folks what's next for you, where to find you. Also, pick up his book, Rip the Resume. If you don't already have a copy, I've got mine. I'm on the other side of my desk today, so you can't see my bookcase, but your book is in my professional section, just so you know. Actually, right next to Stand by Your Truth.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
I didn't do that on purpose, but that's how it ended. All right. Yep. So tell folks what you're doing next, where to find you, and how to reach out to you if they need some help with DEI consulting.
Yeah. When you think about folks like Usain Bolt, when you think about people like Serena Williams, when you think about athletes, entertainers, politicians, pastors, clergy, you think there are some names that, come to mind immediately because you say that these individuals are at the top of their game.
Yeah.
I will tell you, Kirsten, I am only at about 30% of my game.
Okay.
So the question now, or the challenge now, is, do I have enough time to get at top speed? And here's the reason why I say that, because for me, I never wanted to do consulting. I wanted to do D&I from a creative standpoint.
Okay.
I wanted to create content, movies, shorts, reality shows of my own. I wanted to be a creative engine behind D&I.
Yeah.
I was forced into consulting and speaking or whatnot because I was tired of recruiting, which is where my money was coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And on the creative side, I was being told no. I was shut out. I didn't have the access, whatever, didn't have the knowledge. So what you see in this version, no matter what you think about me, I'm only at 30 or 40% of really who I want to be. So when you ask me what's next, anything that gets me closer to greatness, and not greatness in the sense of I want shine, I want the spotlight, greatness in the sense of when it's all said and done and people say Torin's name, I want them to say, yo, that cat fought hard for us to have access. He worked hard to break down people's perceptions and biases and their recruiting patterns and whatever it was, he worked hard. So that's what's next. Anything that gets me closer to being 50, 70, 80, 90% of who I really want to be in this space. That's what's next.
I love it. So we're going to put that in the atmosphere. Next for you is being able to do those creative things. Like you said, movies with an S, shows, because you've already done radio. You've already had, a national show. People can listen to it internationally because, it shows up on the website. So you're already known. You've already been on TV. So we're talking movies. We're talking movies. We're talking more TV shows, and maybe even the song album.
So let me tell you,
maybe some spoken word, because I don't know. Do you sing?
No, I don't sing at all. But there was a moment where I was trying to get with Raheem,
Okay.
do a spoken word type D&I joint over music. So, we've trust me, we've tried. And we will continue to try. Because I just believe it's just that important. I believe that D&I is not something that should only sit inside of HR. For me, I want D&I to be something that is felt as people move through grocery stores, as they move through airports, as they move through motor vehicle administrations. I want the message of humanity and inclusion and equity and equality. I want that to be so much of what we experience, billboards as we're driving down freeway systems. I want it to be outside of churches on their whatever those moniker things are. I want it to just be everywhere. I want people to really say, you know what, we can stamp out racism and homophobia and transphobia and all of the things that separate us. We are going to, if it requires that we build an island and put all of these toxic and racist and people that are tearing us apart as humanity, we put them all. I'm cool with that. So I know what it's going to take for us to get to that point. That's what I'm chasing.
Whew. So you're getting so much love in the comments. I've been trying to put them up. Continue to try. Timing matters. Also had timing up. Well done, good and faithful servant. And then Christina's comment is pretty long, but I'm putting it up here. And I want to leave us here because I want to give her the opportunity to love on you as well. This was a great episode. I really appreciate Torin's perspective and his frequency. Look at them using your words. Many years ago, I had a conversation with him about booking him for a session for our local HR group. And when I ran down the list of knowledge this group needed to hear, I said something along the lines of, this is what they needed to hear, but I don't know that they will act on it. And Torin said, I believe in them. I believe they will. When you know better, you do better. And it really challenged me to create space. Woo! Listen, I'm going to say that again. I believe in them. I believe they will. When you know better, you do better. Thank you so much, my friend, Mr. Torin Ellis, for being on our show. Please come back next week for another opportunity October episode of Trap Chat Live. I have another very special guest, leadership visibility trainer and coach, and chief experience officer of Candid Conversations. My business coach, Candia Johnson, will be my very special guest. So do come back, same time, same channels. And I'm back on Facebook. They took me off probation. See you guys next week.